Ringo.
This woman spent months saving a baby squirrel that barely had a chance to survive. She fed him, taught him how to find his own food, and became his entire world. But when Ringo finally grew strong and healthy, she had to do the hardest thing she could imagine: let him go. What she never expected was that months later, in the middle of a vast forest, the little squirrel would still remember the person who had saved his life. It all began during a holiday week that would end up changing everything. A neighbor discovered a tiny creature lying alone on the ground. It was a baby squirrel, only about 3 weeks old. His eyes were still closed. His mother was nowhere to be found. There was no nest, no protection, and almost no chance he would survive if left there alone. The neighbor tried contacting local animal rescue services, but because of the holiday, no one responded. Not knowing what else to do, he brought the tiny squirrel to this woman. And the moment she saw him, she burst into tears. He was so small he could fit in the palm of her hand. His little body trembled from weakness and cold. Watching such a fragile creature struggle just to stay alive, she knew she was standing in front of a decision that could change everything. Several people offered to take the squirrel in. They told her they could care for him. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that if she handed him over and something happened, she would regret it for the rest of her life. In the end, she decided to care for him herself. And that was the moment Ringo entered her life. There was just one problem. She knew absolutely nothing about squirrels. She had never raised one, never rescued one, and had never cared for a wild animal like this before. Everything about it felt unfamiliar and intimidating. But instead of giving up, she threw herself into learning. She stayed up late reading articles, watched countless videos, and reached out to people experienced in wildlife rehabilitation. Every single day brought a new lesson. Those first few weeks were incredibly stressful. Ringo was so fragile that she barely dared to take her eyes off him. Some nights, she woke up several times just to make sure he was still breathing. Every morning she opened her eyes and found him alive felt like a small miracle. Slowly, things began to change. Ringo grew stronger. His little body started developing. His fur became thicker. And then one day, those tiny eyes finally opened and saw the world for the very first time. From that moment on, Ringo seemed to decide that this woman was the safest place in the world. He constantly looked for her. He always wanted to be close to her. If she walked into another room, he would hurry after her on his tiny legs, determined not to lose sight of her. As time passed, their bond grew deeper and deeper. Ringo followed her everywhere around the house. He loved climbing onto her shoulder. He loved curling up beside her when he slept. And whenever something frightened him, he immediately ran to the person he trusted most. From the very beginning, she had promised herself that the goal was never to keep Ringo forever. The goal was to help him return to where he truly belonged. But the more she loved him, the harder that promise became to keep. Even so, she started preparing him for that future. She hid food in different places so he could learn how to search for it on his own. She created small challenges to help him develop survival skills. Everything was done one careful step at a time. At first, Ringo was slower than wild squirrels his age. He had no mother to teach him, no siblings to learn from, but the instincts inside him were stronger than anyone expected. Day after day, he surprised her. He learned how to climb. He learned how to leap from branch to branch. He learned how to find food. Many of those skills seemed to appear naturally without anyone teaching him at all. Month after month, Ringo transformed. He was no longer the tiny baby squirrel who once lay helpless in the palm of her hand. He became healthy, energetic, and full of confidence. And eventually, the day she had been dreading finally arrived. Ringo was ready to be free. But releasing him didn't go the way she imagined. The first time she set him down and stepped back, he immediately ran straight back to her. He didn't want to leave. The same thing happened again and again. Whenever she encouraged him to explore on his own, he would return to her side. The outside world was simply too big, too unfamiliar. The only thing he knew for certain was that this woman made him feel safe. So she didn't force him. She gave him time, one day at a time, one small step at a time, until eventually he gained the confidence to venture farther away on his own. And then something wonderful happened. Ringo started spending more time in the trees. He began finding his own food. He started living the life a wild squirrel was meant to live. Every time she visited him afterwards, she noticed the same thing. He was stronger, more independent, happier, and each visit reassured her that she had made the right choice. People often ask whether she's sad that Ringo no longer lives with her every day. She always smiles when she hears that question. Because every time she returns to that forest, something magical still happens. The moment Ringo hears her familiar voice, he recognizes it instantly. He comes running as fast as he can, as if no time has passed at all and nothing between them has ever changed.
There are some encounters in life that seem so small at first, you almost don't realize they're the moment everything begins to change. For me, it started with a squirrel. A tiny creature with bright eyes, messy fur, and a personality much bigger than its body. His name was Peanut. And somehow, without even knowing it, Peanut completely changed the way I saw photography, and maybe even life itself. My name is Joni Kappa, and I live in Gothenburg, Sweden. Photography had been part of my life for years. Back then, my world was loud concerts, flashing stage lights, crowds constantly moving. I loved trying to freeze chaotic moments before they disappeared forever. But then the pandemic happened, and suddenly, everything stopped. I remember feeling incredibly empty during that time, like I hadn't just lost work, but lost a part of myself too. So I started taking long walks near where I lived, just trying to clear my head. And one day, I found a small open area near the woods. The moment I stepped into it, something inside me shifted. I stood there for a long time thinking this place feels alive in a completely different way. So I started coming back every day. At first, I brought hazelnuts and walnuts, placing them on the ground before sitting far away with my camera in hand. I didn't want the squirrels to fear me. I just wanted to quietly observe them like a guest entering someone else's world. Most of the squirrels kept their distance. They would rush in, grab the food, and disappear immediately. But one day, the food ran out earlier than usual. And that was the day Peanut walked into my life. He came straight toward me, without hesitation, no fear, no panic, just confidence. His tiny paws moved across the ground like he had something very important to do. Then he stopped a short distance away and stared directly at me. And I swear that look on his face seemed almost annoyed. Like he was saying, "Excuse me, where's the food?" I burst out laughing right there. But underneath the humor, something deeper happened. Peanut didn't look at me like I was a threat. Somehow, this tiny wild animal had decided that I belonged there. From that day on, everything between us changed. Peanut became the center of almost every photo I took. And the funny thing is, he never really posed. He was simply being himself. And that's exactly what made Peanut so special to me. Every expression in those photos was real. The way he tilted his head, the suspicious look in his eyes whenever I brought new camera equipment, the way his eyes widened the moment he spotted a walnut. None of it was staged. A lot of people online think my photos are fake. Some even ask if I use AI because Peanut's expressions look too human. But no, every single moment is real. Peanut just has a personality so huge that it almost feels impossible. And honestly, Peanut is a little bit of a diva. He hates sharing attention. If another squirrel gets too close while I'm taking photos, Peanut immediately chases them away like a tiny celebrity protecting his spotlight. Birds aren't safe either. The second they step into Peanut's frame, he sends them flying. It sounds selfish, but somehow that personality trait only makes me adore him more. Over time, Peanut became more comfortable around me. Not domesticated, just familiar. Those are two very different things. He still belongs completely to nature. Some days he disappears for hours. Some days he won't let me get close at all. And whenever I bring new equipment or move too suddenly, Peanut instantly becomes cautious again. Sometimes Peanut stares directly into the lens for so long that I almost forget I'm photographing a squirrel. It feels more like a conversation, like he's trying to say something without needing words. Peanut taught me that magic doesn't always come from huge life-changing moments. Sometimes it appears in silence, in patience, in sitting still long enough for a wild creature to slowly decide that you are safe. Peanut belongs to the trees, the wind, the changing seasons, and the freedom to disappear whenever he wants. Loving him means accepting that he was never born to stay. Between Peanut and me, words were never necessary, just presence, trust, familiarity, and somehow that was enough. If Peanut's story made you smile, even for a moment, then maybe the next time you step into nature, slow down a little. Because sometimes the most extraordinary connections appear in the quietest places, simply waiting patiently for someone to truly notice them.